Hello everyone. For those who attended our flight operations and training regional seminars 2 years ago, you may remember that we presented to you a mock-up of the electronic eQRH that we used for our feasibility study. Today, I am very pleased to share with you our real eQRH application that entered into service in March 2017. The objective of this presentation is to provide you with some useful information to help you to implement the eQRH within your airline. I will break down my presentation into 3 parts. I will first give you a short overview on the electronic eQRH. Then I will present to you the eQRH evaluations and the main operational recommendations on this new concept of operations. Finally, I will present to you the available support from Airbus that will ease the implementation of the eQRH in your airline. So let's start with a short overview on the electronic eQRH. So as you may already know, Airbus implemented some years ago a new flight operations standard on the A380 and A350 aircraft. This flight operation standard is based on operations supported by electronic means. In fact, on these aircraft, the checklists and procedures are managed in the ECAM. In addition, the performance data is computed in FlySmart with Airbus applications, as no more performance data is included in the operational documentation. The objective of this operation standard is to enable more efficient flight operations and enhanced management of the flight. Now, the objective of Airbus is to implement this flight operation standard on all Airbus aircraft, including the A320, A330 and A340 families. And this is the main objective of the electronic eQRH concept of operations. In fact, the electronic eQRH concept of operations implements 3 main enhancements. The first enhancement consists of the development of a new EFB application, the electronic eQRH. This new application enables the checklists and procedures to be electronically managed. The second enhancement consists of the definition of new standard operating procedures that are based on the EFBUs. Finally, the eQRH content was enhanced to make it compatible with an electronic display and operations. The new electronic eQRH application provides you with 3 main functions. The eQRH enables the display and the management of normal checklists, like in this example. The pilot has the possibility to interact with the checklist content to complete the performed steps and to set the checklist statuses to complete. The eQRH provides also the possibility to display and manage the abnormal and emergency procedures. The objective of the eQRH is to enhance the abnormal situation management thanks to some innovative features like the exclusive display condition management and the color coding within the procedures and checklists. Finally, the eQRH displays important operational data like the fuel penalty factor table, some illustrations of system architectures, and the operating speeds table. You may ask is why a new application on top of the existing ones? The eQRH was designed to answer some specific regulation and operational requirements that cannot be achieved by the existing applications. And I have here two examples to illustrate this. The first example is related to the accessibility and usability. In fact, the rapid access mechanism that is always displayed to the pilot enables a rapid access to the procedures that you have today on the cover page of your paper QRH, like the emergency evacuation procedure. During the eQRH evaluations, we had to demonstrate to the aviation authorities that the time to access to these procedures is at least equivalent to the paper QRH. This was successfully achieved thanks to this new feature, which is not available in the current EFB applications. The second example is related to the reliability of the displayed information. In fact, the eQRH display is based on a double layer mechanism that is generated by two independent processes. The first layer that is always visible to the pilot, the blue one, is called the main layer. Then a second layer that is called the control layer is perfectly hidden behind the operational layer in normal operations. In case a spurious erroneous display happens, like in this simulation, where one line was lost in the main layer, in this case the control magenta layer becomes visible to the pilot. And the pilot is trained in this case to revert to a backup mean. So thanks to this new mechanism that was patented by Airbus, we were able to demonstrate to the aviation authorities that the eQRH provides a high level of integrity of the displayed information. And this is another reason why a new application was required on top of the existing ones. I would like to remind you that you can use and get familiar with the eQRH display and functions thanks to the eQRH applications that are available for you on iPad and Windows. The iPad version may be downloaded for free from the Apple Store, and the Windows demo version is available in Airbus World. I provide you here with the way to download these versions. Now, as I said in my introduction, in addition to the eQRH application, a complete review of the QRH content was performed to make it compatible with an electronic display and operations. This change was released to you from end of March 2017. You can see in this example that the objective of this change was to keep within the QRH only the need to know information and to have an ECAM-like display. We will provide you with more details about this change in the presentation about the QRH content enhancement. Finally, before switching to the eQRH evaluations and recommendations, I would like to say a few words about the eQRH commercial offer. The eQRH is available for all A320, A330 and A340 operators, for both FlySmart customers and non-FlySmart customers. For FlySmart customers with a full package, the eQRH is included free of charge in this package. For the other customers, we propose an eQRH standalone package. The description of this package and the corresponding prices are available in Airbus e-catalog. I provide you here with the link to this information. In both cases, you can contact our NavBlue sales team to request your eQRH delivery or a commercial offer for the standalone package. I now suggest to move on the eQRH evaluations and the corresponding recommendations. I will provide you in this section with some important operational recommendations that will help you to start the implementation of the eQRH within your airlines. As you may know, some electronic checklist products are already available in the market. But what you should keep in mind is that the objective of Airbus was not only to develop an electronic checklist, but to define and evaluate the first concept of paperless cockpit worldwide. This is why a close coordination was set up between Airbus and the EASA and FAA since the feasibility study we performed in 2015 until the official operational evaluations that were held in end of 2016. The eQRH evaluations were based on the latest regulation standards, I mean the FAA AC 12076 Change C and the EASA AMC 2025. These evaluations were successful and both authorities provided us with the operational suitability letters of the eQRH in last February. These letters provide the status of satisfaction of the authorities and give reference to the applicable eQRH user and compliance manual. This manual includes the operational assumptions and recommendations that were identified either by Airbus or the aviation authorities to enable a safe and efficient operation of the eQRH. This generic manual should be used by each operator to support the eQRH approval with his local authority. And the manual is delivered to you with the eQRH application. Now I would like to highlight some important sections of this manual. I propose to you to go through the eQRH cockpit configurations, the eQRH risk assessment, the eQRH backup means and dispatch considerations, and finally the eQRH training recommendations. For the cockpit configurations, the eQRH was evaluated in two possible configurations. In the first configuration, the eQRH was added in an existing fixed EFB. This means that the eQRH was used in combination with performance, documentation, and charts EFB applications. In the second configuration, the eQRH was implemented in a new dedicated tablet in addition to an existing fixed EFB. In both configurations, the operational and human factor evaluations enable to identify some recommendations that ensure an efficient use of the eQRH. These recommendations are available in the Chapter 4 of the eQRH User and Compliance Manual. As an example, when the eQRH is used with other EFB applications, like in configuration 1, it is recommended that you have a way to quickly display the eQRH from other EFB applications. This access is available to you in FlySmart, iPad and Windows. Now, for non-FlySmart operators that may use the eQRH with third-party EFB applications, it will be your responsibility to consider this kind of recommendations. Regarding the eQRH risk assessment, we conducted a generic risk assessment to ensure a mitigation for each identified risk. The risk assessment of the eQRH is based on upstream mitigation processes. This means mitigation processes before the eQRH use. It is also based on downstream processes, and this means mitigation while the eQRH is in use. For the upstream processes, we identified some risks that may be linked to the QRH data used by the eQRH. To mitigate this risk, the EASA and FAA audited and validated the Airbus process to produce the QRH data. Now, if you customize your QRH, you will be responsible for the validation of this specific data. The downstream processes are mainly based on the use of backup means by the flight crew in case of eQRH misbehavior, and I will come back later on the eQRH backup means. Finally, I would like to mention that this generic risk assessment should be used by each operator to build the risk assessment that corresponds to his specific cockpit configuration and backup means. All these considerations and recommendations are provided to you in the Chapter 9 of the eQRH User and Compliance Manual. Now, what about the backup means? The main recommendation regarding the backup means is that the selected means should be accessible and usable by both flight crew members. The eQRH backup means may be based on additional devices in the cockpit or on the use of the opposite device if the accessibility and usability is demonstrated. In fact, in this case, the accessibility may depend on the mount used to fix the EFP hardware. And on top of the backup means in operations, a minimum dispatch configuration is required. The flight can be dispatched provided that at least one eQRH and one backup means are available in the cockpit. The recommendations regarding the backup means and the dispatch considerations are also available in the eQRH User and Compliance Manual in the following chapters. And these recommendations should be used by each operator to define the backup means in the cockpit and to build the eQRH MEL items. The last highlight I would like to present to you is linked to the training. In fact, the operational evaluation conducted by Airbus, in addition to the EASA and FAA evaluations, enable to identify the level of training required for the eQRH. For the flight crew, it is recommended to have an initial training that should include a minimum of list of training items that are provided in the eQRH user and compliance manual. I will come back later on the eQRH e-learning that takes into consideration all these training items. So in addition to this initial training, a check should be appended to the initial training to ensure the acquisition of this list of training items. 2 items were identified for the recurrent training: the eQRH double layer display mechanism I have just presented to you, in addition to the eQRH use in smoke conditions. For the EFB and documentation administrators, the same training as FlySmart are recommended. All the training recommendations are available in the chapter 7.2 of the eQRH User and Compliance Manual and should be used by each operator to define the training policy of the eQRH. So as you can see, the eQRH User and Compliance Manual includes important recommendations that will help you to implement an efficient and safe operation of the eQRH, and this document is the reference for a successful operational approval of the electronic QRH. I suggest now to move on to the last section of my presentation, where I would like to present to you some additional materials that will help the implementation and the approval of the eQRH. First, I would like to mention that in addition to the eQRH User and Compliance Manual I have just presented to you, the eQRH is delivered with 3 important documents: the eQRH Installation Guide, the eQRH Administration Guide, and the eQRH User Guide. These 3 guides provide you with all the useful information that enable the installation, the management, and the use of the eQRH. For example, the Installation Guide provides you with the eQRH hardware and operating systems compatibility. You can also find in the Administration Guide all the information that enables you to use ADOC or FODM to customize the eQRH to fit your specific context of operations. Another important material that is available for you, the eQRH e-learning. In fact, we built an eQRH e-learning that takes into consideration all the training items that were identified for the eQRH. This e-learning was reviewed and accepted by the EASA and FAA. The eQRH e-learning is delivered to you with the eQRH application as a standalone application. This e-learning format may be run on Windows devices and is free of charge. This e-learning is also available in the Airbus Learning Management System with additional LMS functions like the tracking of completion by your flight crews. This format may be run on Windows and Apple devices. This format is chargeable. Finally, like for the other FlySmart applications, NavBlue offers a service to help you to implement and approve the eQRH with your local authorities. So thanks to NavBlue expertise, the objective of such a service is to accelerate the implementation and the approval of this new concept of operations. This will be achieved through an effective assistance to define the best cockpit configuration and to optimize the flight operation organization to take full benefit of the eQRH implementation. In addition, NavBlue will provide you with the assistance to build your approval documents and get the eQRH approval from your local authority. If you are interested in this service, please contact your NavBlue sales team. So to conclude my presentation, I would like to say that we at Airbus are convinced that the eQRH enables outstanding benefits in terms of cockpit operations and operational documentation management. We will keep supporting you to implement the eQRH and to take full benefit from its implementation. I hope that this presentation provided you with sufficient information to enable a successful implementation and approval of the eQRH within your airline. Thank you.